Good evening. We will begin the Administration and Public Works Committee meeting Monday, April 10th. Can I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Newsma,
Here.
Councilmember Burns,
Here.
Councilmember Reed,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly, Councilmember Harris.
Present.
With 4, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. Let's begin our order of business. I'm looking for approval for our minutes from our last meeting, March 27th.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Reed and seconded by Councilmember Newsma. Are there any questions? No? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, this moves 4-0. Thank you. At this time, we have 2 public comments, and we'll begin with Mr. Vasilko.
Thank you very much. So I mentioned it when I signed up. It has nothing to do with your agenda, but I had to make a time to comment on the past election and the unfortunate evolution of campaigning that's going on. It's Mayor Biss with his endorsements, of course, of the 2nd and 9th wards, delivering 5 to 6 emails to those in the wards, text messages to people who didn't know that Mayor Biss had their phone number, and other mailings, pretty heavy-handed endorsements, not to mention Mayor Haggerty, his funding of campaigns, and rolling out ex-Mayor Tisdall and ex-Alderman Holmes and ex-Alderman Braithwaite. Again, just very heavy-handed, very obvious what's going on. Jeff Hirsch and Evanston Now mentioned, had an article talking about apathy and low voter turnout. You have to imagine this is why, because of what's going on and how democracy is being undermined in the city of Evanston. So clearly, the 2nd Ward and the 9th Ward are basically beholding to the mayor and his agenda, as well as beholding to Northwestern. Ex-Alderman Braithwaite, now NU's procurement director, I believe, and a member of the board of the Evanston Roundtable, was actively campaigning for the 2nd Ward, maybe the 9th Ward, I don't know. That puts the Roundtable's credibility in question, I think, since they represents the Roundtable and actively campaigning, which I found shocking, but true, as well as Northwestern, donors.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for cutting me off.
You're welcome. Next is Mary Rosinski with 2 minutes.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to comment on the fact that most of the committee meetings are a 3-minute public comment. And that was changed when Mayor Haggerty reduced public comment time. One of the things that he said in the Rules Committee that night was, well, you'll be able to discuss more and make more comment at the committees. So I wish you would reconsider and give people the full 3 minutes, if not more, to have, there's no place for the public to communicate with you guys. So that being said, what I came to speak about was the A4 and first of all, I'm concerned with all the overcharges and change orders that we had on so many of our contracts. I'd really like us as a city to get a hold of that. I think it may be more than in other communities. And change orders in construction are a big deal. On A4, I don't know why staff is recommending taking out more debt. We already have like almost $500 million of debt between the two, approximately $200 million with the city and then the pensions and Lord knows what else. And we also have in the budget and finance meeting tomorrow, you're going to find out that we have another $10 million surplus that they didn't know about. And we talked about the $14 million surplus in 2022 budget. Now it appears that there's 39 million. So why in the world are we not maintaining our buildings? Why in the world would we issue more debt on the taxpayers' backs? And why don't we just say, no, we don't need more debt? Let's use our surplus wisely. Let's let everyone know what that surplus is. Let's look at our capital improvements programs and let's maintain our buildings. So as APDW, I just wish you would tell staff there is not going to be any debt this year. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you so much. It seems as if we don't have any other public comment. Anyone in the room? Okay. With that being said, we will move to the consent agenda. Are there any items we wish to have pulled from the agenda?
A14 and A15, please.
Councilmember Reed, anything?
No, but with that, I will move the consent agenda as amended.
You go, Bobby. Okay. It has been moved. I need a second.
I will second the consent agenda, which includes everything except A14 and A15.
All right. With that said, consent agenda, A1 through A13. I call for a vote.
Councilmember Nusma,
Aye.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris,
Aye. All right, so that has passed unanimously. Now we will go to A14.
So moved.
I will second A14 for discussion.
Okay, Councilmember Burns?
So I'm trying to get my numbers right. So this contract, the contract that we have in our packet is, there was an error. It's supposed to say $62.40 per month. There was an increase because we went from a 12-month contract to a month-to-month contract. It's not the increase that's represented in the packet. The increase in the packet was due to an error being made in putting in 100 active working hours instead of 80. But there has been a slight increase to go from a year contract to month to month. The month to month allows us an opportunity to terminate the contract with or without cause with a 45-day notice, and which addresses some of the concerns that we've heard from this committee around issues related to performance and in criminal conduct. And so I'm going to amend this to say 80 active working hours per month at 6,240 per month, a month-to-month contract with WorkSpeed. But everything else in the contract is valid. The only amendment I'll make is the monthly amount.
So say that again.
I'll second.
I just want to get clarification. So 6,240 per month.
Correct.
Not 7,800.
Not 7,800.
Second.
Any other questions? Any other?
So those there's not the numbers that are stated in this contract right now.
Yeah, the contract says 7,800. That was an error on WorkSpeed's part. The email that I got actually from WorkSpeed was, this is our error. We had a note for 100 hours. The 80 hours per month agreement is 6,240 per month. The discounted pricing of 5,616 per month is for a 12-month agreement. And again, we've gone from a 12-month kind of locked-in agreement to a month-to-month now. That allows us to terminate with or without cause, with a 45-day notice.
And 6240 a month times 12 puts us at
74.
74,880. Which is more than the 68 and change that we had budgeted for.
Yeah, we budgeted for a 12-month agreement. So we went back to our staff went back negotiating with Worksby because we wanted something to address any concerns around performance and criminal conduct. And this is the compromise that was made to do a month-to-month.
Yeah. I have a couple of concerns here. One is just administratively not having the actual numbers in writing in front of us from Worksby. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but yeah, taking their word for it that 6240 per month is the number for 80 hours a month. That's $78 an hour, or almost $75,000 a year. We should be hiring somebody in-house to do this work, and I would be in favor of moving in that direction, which is something we had talked about as a potential eventual endpoint anyway. So I'm prepared to go that way immediately, and I do think we would be better served by having somebody in-house on staff than by having remote administrative support. Completely understand the need for administrative support, would love to have some more myself. But I don't think pursuing the Worksby thing is in the best financial interest, nor in the best kind of value added benefit to us as council members.
So I can't speak to the financial interest piece because you haven't provided any justification. But what I will speak to is I think the advantage to this now being month to month is that allows us to understand what our needs are. We got here from at least 5 council members participating in an hour-long roadmap to really kind of diagnose what our challenges are, what our pain points are, and the active working hours was identified specifically to address those pain points. I've described the active working hours compared to traditional kind of hourly work hours before, so I won't go into great length about the differences. But again, we're not paying for lunch, we're not paying for coffee time, we're not paying for social media scrolling. We're paying for active working hours that could be tracked, that are tracked. And so I think the advantage is this allows us now with the month to month to get this going, because I think we need something now, and then we can use this to figure out what our needs are, what works, what doesn't. And next year, right, with during our budget conversations, if we want to hire somebody, I think we'll have enough information at that point to do that. But this is a way where we can get started with a professional organization that does this, and not hoping that we find somebody that has a skill set to meet our needs, but we know they do because this is what they do full time, and we can have that conversation during the next budget discussion. And I certainly wouldn't be against it, but this allows us to get going now, to learn from it, and then make adjustments during our next budget conversations. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
I have legal.
Thank you, Chair Harris, members of the committee, Alexandra Ruggie, Deputy City Attorney. Council Cummings just informed me that Worksby just recently sent over an updated contract, and it does have the updated amounts. So if we wanted to put that in a packet, that would be ready for the next meeting, but the city is in receipt of the updated contract.
And I did send that to everybody on the committee about 60 seconds ago.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember
And again,
Reed.
just correcting the error, I want to be clear that they did provide a contract that's in our packet for this meeting. They corrected the error.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you. I'm certainly hearing the arguments of my colleague, Councilmember Nusma, and to be quite frank, Councilmember Burns and I have talked about this. Some of the runaround here has made me a bit concerned, but it got louder all of a sudden. But I'm going to support this. The fact that it's a month-to-month contract with a 45-day cancellation period if it's not working out. The fact that we can get something working now and then next year still accomplish what I think may be turning out to be a better plan, I'm going to be voting yes, and I encourage my colleagues to vote yes, try something new. If it doesn't work, we can get out of it. Thank you.
I think the time and energy and the money is better spent hiring somebody on staff. By the time we get through onboarding somebody and getting them up to where we need to be, we're going to be in the budget cycle anyway. Let's cut to the chase, hire somebody on staff. I think we'd get much more value out of that. So I'm not going to be supporting this, but if it does pass, I will take whatever help I can get.
So as chair, I hear both sides of this argument, and I think I agree we need to have a full-time person, but I don't know when that would happen. And since this is a contract that is month to month with no harm, I'm willing to give it a chance to help us get moving, but with the expectation that we really work on a job description and within the next few months be prepared to hire somebody and then make sure we're paying attention to that 45-day and then release WorksBe. Because if we hire a person, it still will cost more because you're looking at insurance and benefits and all of those things. So it will wash out somewhere in the end. Any other discussion?
I just wanted to double down on that. That's why I think it is a more cost-effective solution, because no matter what, a full-time salary person with insurance, as the chair just indicated, is going to cost more than this. So I think this is a good step financially for us as a city, and then we can, again, work on figuring out what that long-term person looks like. Thank you.
All right, I'll call for the vote, and let's do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Newsma,
No.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye. So that passes 3-1, 3 in favor, 1 against. And now A15, there was discussion.
I will move item A15, which is a resolution 31R23 expressing the commitment of the City Council to complete a property conversion utilizing an underdeveloped property within the city to create new public park space.
I will second for the purposes of discussion, and if I could start off the discussion by suggesting that we postpone the discussion and have this discussion at full council. Let's advance this out of committee, but I think this issue is of concern to more than just the members of this committee, and rather than going through everything twice, let's have a conversation at council.
I mean, I think it would be helpful to flush out, especially, you know, we canceled Planning and Development Committee, so I think we have some time. Council doesn't start until 6 p.m. I think this is our last issue on the agenda.
It is.
So I would like to know what the concerns are, because I think the way this was written may not capture what is actually happening and what our plans are. So I'd love to hear any concerns that you may have about this, because hearing from Laura, I think we found a way to address this.
Yeah, the conversation I had with Laura prior to this meeting helped address some of my concerns here, but I do still have some kind of underlying concerns with regards to the relationship between District 65 and the city. Throughout this process, I think we need to be in better communication with each other so that City Council is not caught off guard by a request exactly such as this, which is going to cost us an unknown amount of money, a non-trivial amount of money. This is something that we should not be finding out about this late in the game. So I want to make sure that we're talking with the district about collaborating better on this entire process. And those are my kind of overall general concerns, not specific to this particular issue. I'll go ahead and approve this resolution, but I have more significant overriding concerns.
And honestly, I don't think this committee nor council is probably the best venue to do that. Again, you have your prerogative as a council to do as you will, but we have been having regular conversations with District 65, probably more meetings with District 65 than we have with any other, partner. And I think the issue here is that as the proposal has changed, it has created a situation where we now have to, there's going to be a parking lot where the tennis court is, but that's not something that we knew months ago. We wouldn't have, even if we had improved communication, which I don't necessarily understand what that means, wouldn't have prevented it, because the reason why the parking lot is now taking up an area where the tennis court is to make sure that the field the parking lot is not located on the field. And so in an attempt to try to preserve the play field, which is something that was really important to me and to Fifth Ward residents, the updated plan is to expand the existing parking lot that currently serves Fleetwood to now serve District 65. There'll be 82 stalls, but that includes a need to, relocate the tennis court somewhere else. But that came out of community meetings and is really a development of community input. So I don't think increased communication led to that decision being made to preserve the field. And again, one of the results of that is, we'll have to find a way to replace the tennis court. My understanding is that we have a possible solution near Evanston Township High School. There's 2 parcels there. We might be able to do a land swap so we don't have to purchase new land. That was my understanding. I don't know if things have changed, but that would be my only question, is just trying to understand from staff what our options are and realistically what the cost would be.
Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Laura Biggs. I'm the city engineer. So, yes, the grant agreement with IDNR does require us to implement a property conversion for any facilities that were improved by the grant that are being removed before the end date of the grant, which is 2028. And so when we look at the area and the requirements, the specific requirements from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources are that we find a property, acquire a property of equal or greater value that is undeveloped as a park and is not open for public use, that we improve that property to equal or greater value in terms of the park facilities. Now, the city had recently acquired property along the Mayfair Railroad right-of-way adjacent to Mason Park, located between Mason Park and the high school, essentially. And we are looking to make that improvement into parkland, but we have not yet started any sort of public process. And in preliminary conversations with the IDNR, it appears that we may be able to utilize that property even though we've already acquired it. However, step one is that we have to do real estate appraisals and make sure that that property, which is of a larger size than the property we're converting at Fleetwood Jourdain, is also of equal or greater value. And then we would have to go through a public process so that the public agrees to have the property improved to a higher equal or higher standard to the park facilities that we are replacing. It does not have to be improved as tennis courts specifically, just some active use that is a concrete infrastructure improvement of equal or greater value to the community. Because that process has not happened, and because we don't even have the real estate appraisals back yet, I cannot guarantee that it's all going to work out. Regardless of whether this works out, the city council and the city of Evanston are essentially on the hook for creating that park space. If it's not at Mason Park, then somewhere else. However, we do have a possible solution. We just need a commitment from the city to follow through with it before the existing facilities are converted to a non-park use.
Yeah, so my point being is I think we had land that we already purchased. The plan was to likely improve it for a park use anyway, and so this all may work out, obviously we need to wait on the appraisals and all that to come back, but I don't think there's any sign here that we have an issue with communication with District 65. What I would suggest, though, Councilmember Newsom, if you want to participate in those discussions, you're more than welcome. We meet on a regular basis. We certainly can invite you to those meetings so that you can participate and kind of see for yourself what the discussions are like. But again, the change was to try to preserve the play field. We all understand that this is a really difficult project because it's a relatively, again, small development site. We're not going to be able to get it all on the site. We knew we were going to lose baseball from the beginning. I mean, that's just the nature of trying to develop in a really small site. So I don't see any emergency here or reason to rethink how we're engaging with District 65. I think this is just a natural development of trying to do something that's really difficult. And it sounds like we have a strategy that is not going to cost the city any more than we probably would have spent anyway improving this area. So that's all, Chair.
Admittedly, this is a difficult process, and I think all of our colleagues in the council have endorsed the idea of a Fifth Ward school. We're committed to seeing that happen, and so this is going to be a challenging process. And because it's so challenging, it just requires really close collaboration between district and city. And that collaboration, some of that is at the leadership level, which includes us as council members. But really, it comes down to staff that are doing that job and are paid to do that job by Evanston taxpayers to make sure that the communication is happening at the staff level. And, there are going to be challenges like this. And, I understand that District 65 has found a way to build a Fifth Ward school at no additional expense to school board taxpayers. But if that solution imposes costs on the city of Evanston, we're all the same taxpayers. And I'm not opposed to having that conversation. I'm not opposed to paying more. I just want to know what that is, and so we can evaluate the numbers holistically. And it just seems that District 65 is kind of limiting our opportunity to weigh in and collaborate in a way that is best for the entire community. After all, it's the same folks that vote for school board and same folks that vote for city council. Same folks pay the property tax, most of which goes to the school districts, not very much of which comes to the city. And so we're all beholden to the same bosses. On behalf of our bosses, I want to make sure we are working together collaboratively for the benefit of the entire community. It's just my general concern here. Does that mean, do I need to go to another meeting? Hey, if that's what it takes, I'll do that. But I don't think that my presence at the table is a silver bullet here.
Councilmember Burns?
Yeah, I just, again, want to reiterate that what you're describing is happening. The staff has been meeting with District 65. It's not just me. I don't even really convene the meetings. I participate when I'm invited, but it's really a meeting between city staff, our leadership, Manager Stowe and their leadership and their staff. So those meetings are taking place, and they've been happening on a regular basis for the past, year? So that is happening. So that's why I've invited you to those meetings, because so that you can observe it yourself and participate as much as you see fit. Because this particular issue, again, there were other proposals that this body saw. One was to relocate Fleetwood. We didn't have enough information to make that decision, but that would have freed up some space so that we may not have had to come to this point. But we're here now because at the time we felt like there wasn't enough information to move on that. And so we haven't freed up any space on the development site, but we've made it clear that we want to preserve the playfield, or as much of it as we can. We've done that. To do it, they still need to get the parking in somewhere. If they don't put the parking in, I'm going to hear from community members, because they've been very clear that they also want them to have enough parking to to accommodate, the staff and visitors. So, again, to recap, the discussions that you're calling for are happening. They've been happening for the last year. This is a new development, and as things develop, we'll have to pivot and make adjustments. And that's why staff, I believe, is asking us today to approve this, and I'm sure they'll come back at some point once we know what the cost will be for us. But I don't see it being a significant cost, especially if you, with this idea, which I think it works out, that I think we were already planning to improve this part
If
anyway.
it works out,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, how much is it going to cost us?
Well, we'll know that, but I don't think that was my main point. I don't think we're in an emergency point right
Yeah,
now.
I'm not-
where,
I'm
this
not
is going to
calling it
cost
an
us millions of
emergency.
dollars. I don't know what it's going to cost us. Right now, it's looking like it won't cost us much. So I would say let's approve this and
It's not an
wait for
emergency,
more
but
information.
I think there is a sense of urgency, given the District 65's, financial obligations, as I understand them.
No, I didn't say urgency. I said emergency. When you start off, it was like, well, we want to talk about, how we communicate with District 65, and I'm saying we've communicated, I think, really effectively. We hold regular meetings. This is just a new development, and we'll have other things that we need to consider as well. It doesn't impact the grant, but we're gonna also need to relocate the basketball court, right? It just so happens that District 65 feels like they could relocate it on site, but this isn't the last adjustment we'll need to make in order for this project to work. There'll be other, changes that are necessary to make this happen. So.
Right, and the project is scheduled to go to the Land Use Commission later this month,
April
This month,
19th.
right? Yeah,
The 19th.
yeah.
right, which is another inflection point in the project, in
But
the
if-
evolution
if-
of the project.
If
So
Luke,
hold
if
on
you
one
wouldn't mind
second,
inviting.
hold on
oh,
one
go ahead.
second, hold on one second, thank you. So what I'm understanding is concern for staff. Do we feel comfortable with this decision, Director Biggs? Uh-oh, that puts you on the spot, I'm sorry.
If we do have a pathway forward that could work out and has, I would guess, a better than 50-50 chance of working out, that would not require the city to spend necessarily more money than they were already planning to spend on park improvements. But if that does not work out, and a big portion of whether it works out or not works out really has to do with public sentiment and what the public wants for that land. So it isn't something that staff can necessarily dictate or control. We wouldn't even try. Then the city council will still be on the hook. And if this does not work out, Plan B is going to be a significant financial investment.
Okay, and that's the adjustments to Mason Park, which
The
is in my ward.
Plan A is the adjustment to Mason Park.
Right.
And the benefit to that is that it is funded through the West Evanston TIF, most likely. It's definitely in the geographic area, and that was always the plan, and really has the opportunity to provide a great benefit. It's not in the Fifth Ward, but it's very close to the Fifth Ward, and we would anticipate, just like Mason Park is used by Fifth Ward residents, the same people would be receiving a lot of the benefit. But if it does not work out, Plan B, C, and D are going to require significant financial commitment by the city of Evanston.
Okay, and with the Plan A, again, you've mentioned that requires the community input, which we know is very important in that second ward, so, I don't know.
And Chair, I mean, again, we're in some sense making it scarier than it's just improving a park. With a parcel that is of similar value to the parcel where the tennis court is, the plan was already to improve this parcel, whether it's swapped out or not, for park use. So again, I don't think this is an emergency issue. I think it was written in a way by one of our publications to make it seem like this was a bigger issue than it really is. It's not I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah,
I think we approve this and wait to hear from our staff on where we're at, and if it becomes an issue, then we can address it then. But I don't see an issue here.
And my concerns are more.
Hold on one second, hold on. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you. Just jumping in because now I'm starting to feel a bit lost. So I just want to make sure, this is something we are required to do, right? But is there something mandating that we do this? If we give up the public park space?
Yes, when the city received a grant from IDNR in
Okay.
2008.
Right.
We entered into an agreement that said that we would maintain those facilities to 2028 or do a property conversion to replace them with facilities of equal or greater value.
I think I think that kind of, I hope, clarifies things. That we're kind of just stuck in this predicament unless, and if we don't do this, that means that the school can't move forward as planned.
District 65 is not bound by this grant agreement. The city of Evanston is
Right.
bound by the grant
Right.
agreement. So
But they'd have to reconfigure something, no?
it is their property, and they can put what they want on their property. What the city council will ultimately be approving related to the Fifth Ward School are actually zoning variations, where they are requesting major variations for certain zoning standards and requirements in the zoning code. However, similar to a planned use development, often projects are considered holistically. So, but the city council does not technically vote on what the school district chooses to do on its own property. We are pushed into a situation because what they're proposing to do would utilize would remove improvements that were made on land that the city of Evanston leased from the district. However, they've terminated that lease and plan to put their improvements there before 2028.
And if we violate this grant agreement, what happens to us?
That's an interesting question, and maybe that is more related to something that our corporation council can say, but I will say functionally, we get a $400,000 grant for park improvements every 2 to 3 years from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and I would assume we would not be getting any more grants from IDNR. There are no magical grants for park improvement. Practically speaking, IDNR is the only game in town, so it would really impact our ability to get any future grants.
Thank you, thank you. So, just putting that, I think that it should clarify, I think we should move this forward. And I think we can either hold it at council or whatever we need to do to make sure everybody feels comfortable, but it seems like something we're obligated to do.
Sorry. I have a comment from legal, Rugby.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Again, Alexandra Ruggie, Deputy City Attorney. So Lara Biggs is correct. This is something we spoke with IDNR. We had a lengthy meeting with them about this. We do have until 2028 to complete the conversion, so there is a little bit of time on the city's side, but it is something that we're going to be required to do if that park space is lost. Back in 2008, I'm not certain why the park that the city installed using the grant was District 65 property, but the city was the only participant of the grant agreement. So District 65 is not beholden to that grant agreement. It is their property. They terminated the city's lease of that property, and so they can put the parking lot there, whether or not the city passes this resolution. But the resolution, I believe, is here before you tonight just to make a commitment so that staff can start to move forward with the prospective process to convert different lands and to start the appraisal and to see what our options are. So the resolution isn't committing to anything specific, it's just giving staff direction so that we're able to move forward and provide more information.
Thank you for that. I think that helps. Councilmember Nusma.
Yeah, I'm prepared to vote for this tonight. My objections are not to this resolution itself, and hopefully the solution that's been suggested will work out. I just do not like being forced into a position where we have no choice but to take a certain vote. If we're doing the right thing for the community, we should approve this, but we have no choice, and that's what I am not feeling comfortable about. So I'm prepared, let's move this, let's vote on it, we'll approve it, but I've registered my concerns.
And is there any District 65, are they solid in what they're doing? Is there a change of heart? They're about to have new owner or a new leadership?
I have not discussed the change in leadership with any of the staff at District 65. I think it's safe to say, while they're concerned about this and really don't want to be in a position where this item is holding up their approvals and it's unresolved by the city what is happening, their focus is on building the Fifth Ward School and not worrying about the obligation, the legal obligation for this grant requirement.
Which is unfortunate. Councilmember Newsome.
The mayor has indicated that the District 65 CEO will be available for council tonight if we have any questions. Did I say CFO? I meant to say CFO.
Right, they had one. Okay, Councilmember Burns?
I mean, I'll say the rest of this account. I disagree with the way this is being framed, and we can discuss it further at council if need be. But and this is why, Councilman Newsom, I really do invite you to those conversations, because District 65 is responding to community input by coming up with a solution to preserve the playfield. And that solution, and there aren't many, because the other solutions involve Family Focus, for example, lending parking to them that they don't either have or are not ready to make those commitments at this point, because they're at the very beginning of renovating their space, which with it will likely bring new tenants to the building, and they'll need parking.
They're going to need their parking.
Right.
I get
So
it. I get it. I mean, the solution makes sense.
The concerns, registering concerns make sense. I don't think it's fair to put this on District 65. This is just the collaborative effort trying to come up with not a perfect solution, because there are none with this project, but just the best solution that we can. And I'm looking forward to hearing from staff in a few weeks, months, whatever it takes, and hopefully it all evens out in that we have already purchased property, so we won't have to go out and purchase any additional property, and we'll be able to improve it like we were going to improve it anyway for park use, and there's no issue here. So I think it's unfair to put this on District 65. And if you want to help us, anybody, right, thinks they can help collaborate with us to come up with better solutions, again, please reach out to Manager Stowe, and he'll add you to those conversations, because, again, we meet on a regular basis.
All right. Even if there is other discussion, I'm going to call for the question. At this time, I would like to do roll call.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye. A15, Resolution 31R23 passes. Seeing no other business before us, I call this meeting adjourned at 5:53. Thank you.